Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of Disability Landscape. Today, I'm joined with our co-host, Tricia Carlberg, and she's going to introduce a couple of guests today from the Minnesota Music Coalition and also Able Artists Foundation. So, Trish, take it away.
Yeah, today we have Joanna and Stephen from the Music Coalition. And the Minnesota Music Coalition is a statewide network for independent musicians who care about creating and sustaining a popular music community through education, communication, advocacy, and they also create an ability to access resources and professional development for artists. So thank you for coming on our little show today.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here.
One of the questions I had spoke directly to a panel that you had, which was called the Accessibility for Disabilities panel. Can you talk a little bit about what that is all about, either Stephen or Joanna?
Sure. That panel was part of our Minnesota Music Summit, which is an annual event that the Minnesota Music Coalition hosts. It is an event that's intended to bring together musicians from across Minnesota for workshops, for conversations, for performances, which we held across the state as well. And this year, the theme of our summit was the state of Minnesota music, kind of looking at, what has transpired over the last year and how the music community moves forward. And so, we were really excited to have an accessibility panel to talk about how members of the music community can support musicians with disabilities in new and more substantial ways. And I was really thankful that Stephen, as well as several other people, were on that panel.
Yeah, awesome. I noticed too that during the discussion, there was something about giving away musical instruments, and I think it was Stephen who mentioned that it's somewhat hard to find out who in the community could those instruments go to, and who in the community, is a musician with a disability. And I don't know, Stephen, if you feel comfortable talking about that.
Oh yeah. Now, just so you know, there's a little machine going on in the background, so I might click mute on and off to make this work. But hi, my name is Stephen Letnes. I'm a white male with short, light brown hair, wearing sunglasses, wearing a maroon Nike exercise shirt, and I'm sitting outside in my courtyard with one of my association's buildings behind me. I run, well, first and foremost, I'm a film composer. I write music for movies. Our films have won lots of awards, including an Emmy nomination. And right now I have his name, which is going through the film festival circuit, which we just found out it's about the George Floyd murder. And we just qualified for Academy Award consideration. So we're very stoked. I am also visually impaired. And that's what these really thick glasses are for. I have retinitis pigmentosa, cone rod dystrophy, and a little dusting of macular degeneration. So as I was working in the film industry and learning about the challenges that they're in, because a lot of people with disabilities aren't really working in Hollywood, and we aim to change that. So I started Able Artists Foundation. And Able Artists Foundation is a 501c3 based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we have multiple programs. We have a discount program for people receiving SSI or SSDI or whatever their country's equivalent is, because we are international. We also run a contest which connects artists, which are generally entry-level or mid-level composers and musicians. Not only do we award prizes, but we also introduce them to music licensing companies so that they can actually work to make a living from their music. And finally, to speak to your direct question, yes, we are launching an instrument grant program. So anybody who's looking for an instrument, they can't quite afford it, they have a verifiable disability, preferably living in Minnesota, we will begin receiving applications for people to submit some basic info for us to consider if which case would warrant an instrument at that time. And it will be a rolling grant. We'll be doing 2 to 4 grants per year. And again, if you're in Minnesota, if you have a disability, but we don't just limit it to Minnesota. Like if it's in the surrounding region, Wisconsin, North Dakota, anywhere in the United States, we will have a grant that one can apply for. We just prefer to support those here in Minnesota because this is where we live and this is the state we want to enhance the musical lives of not only the performers, but the listeners as well.
Well, and Stephen, Minnesota is such a incubator for music throughout, the nation anyway. We have, great history with Prince and so many other artists that came from here that, it's great to be able to foster that here.
Yes, I agree.
So
challenge to identify them here in Minnesota.
Exactly. And hopefully this grant that you're doing will help bring more people out. And so is there a ceiling to the grant? Is it, we're not going to give you a Steinway grand piano, but that kind of thing.
It's $500 to $1,000.
Okay, so
and then it's something for people. Again, this isn't designed for people who are already professional. These are entry level individuals.
Right.
Also, bear in mind, I mean, we have relationships with physical manufacturers as well as software developers, and so that $500 to $1,000 is retail. I'm talking a little bit behind the curtain here,
right.
But we have a lot of relationships. So depending upon the instrument, maybe we can speak with them, tell a company what it's for, and perhaps we can stretch that amount, because everyone has to remember or should know, Able Artists Foundation is a small new nonprofit. We may have members in over 27 countries, but we've only been around for 3 years, and so we are still getting our sea legs. And I'm going to stop talking and put it on mute so that plane can go by.
All righty. And Joanna.
Question to Joanna, yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Trick.
I'll jump in. I also have children in the background, so I apologize if they get a little noisy. But I also wanted to add, while Stephen is dealing with the airplane over there, that we are the MMC is we look at ourselves as a platform to help other resources get their message out to musicians,
Okay.
which is why I'm really excited that we could hopefully help amplify the message of the Able Artists Foundation. We have a large network of musicians across the state, and they have their own communities. So I'm hopeful that we can help keep sharing that message out as well.
Okay, so the coalition then kind of works hand in hand with the Able Artists Foundation to kind of support what they're doing as part of the larger part of what you do for musicians throughout the state.
Well, yeah, we like to share the message, the resources that are available to musicians, whether that's grant programs, access programs. We also do workshops throughout the year, and so this year I think we'll be able to think more about what other workshops or trainings would be helpful. I was at the Minnesota Theater Alliance for several years, and so we did workshops on the topic of access and accessibility regarding audiences that theaters were bringing into their spaces.
Sure.
And tried to amplify the programs that were not ours, that other institutions were doing as well, just simply because one organization can't do all of that, but we need to help spread each other's messages.
Certainly.
Indeed.
And Joanna, too, I noticed from your website that you also have like virtual events, like happy hours and brunches, which sounds so fun and exciting. What are those all about?
Yeah, we try to connect musicians across the whole state, and it's a Minnesota is quite a large state, and we found that people who maybe weren't able to join us in person for a variety of reasons in the past, that the online Zoom meetups were a great option.
Mhm.
And we've also, we've moved because of the pandemic and such, we've moved other types of our events, like our mixtape event that was held in February. We have moved those online, and this year we'll kind of do a combination for that event that's both in person and online. Really excited about now that we have gotten accustomed kind of as a society to accessing things like Zoom for gathering together, that we can continue to make that part of our ongoing programming.
Okay.
And I noticed too that your site also displays something about mentoring programs. So would those be on Zoom as well, like where musicians would teach other artists how to play on? I don't know how that would work out. Is that challenging to have those
Yeah.
on Zoom or?
Actually, our mentoring program is for musicians to gain some best practices or advice in various aspects of building their music business. So we meet on Zoom with a musician who would like a mentor, just to get a sense of what they're interested in and what they want to learn more about. And then we match them with a mentor who's really specializes in that particular thing. So if they're interested in building their brand as a musician, we can pair them with someone who would speak to building their brand, and then
Okay.
that mentor commits to that 1 hour mentorship. They can meet again if they'd like to beyond that, but we mainly put them together for a 1 hour kind of advice coaching session.
Okay. And then, as fortunately the pandemic starts to slow down and people are getting back out, you have the opportunity now for people to get together face to face and really kind of, stretch their legs musically then.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, one of our events will be kind of a hybrid event that's both online and in person this fall. But
Okay.
we are also launching our Caravan de Nord tour again through the fall, and that's at a bunch of locations across the state. In addition, we do booking for musicians, and those opportunities are kind of all over the place. We have booking partnerships right now with the downtown St. Paul to do busking. We also we have a partnership to do performance at the Republic MSP at the mall, or I'm sorry, at the Minneapolis airport.
Okay.
And a couple others that are escaping me right now, but we always are working on new performance opportunities, paid performance opportunities for musicians.
Okay.
And we also this year established a fund that can support any barriers to participation in our programs related to cost. So that, for example, if travel is a barrier, or there are other elements of access that are barriers to participation, we're ready to go with that. Cost shouldn't be a barrier to participation.
This is such a random question, but this just came to me, Joanna. And maybe you don't even know, but when you mentioned busking in St. Paul or Minneapolis, the downtown, one of the artists that comes to mind is the artist who wrote the Dance Monkey song, and she was talking about busking in Australia and how there's rules to it. Do you know if there's rules in the Twin Cities about busking?
Well, the busking partnership that we have is one that is in partnership with the Downtown St. Paul Council. So
Okay.
it's really geared at bringing music and vitality to that part of the city. So yes,
more of like an encouragement than a decline, right? It's not like we just have artists everywhere, just on every corner, just wanting to busk or whatever. So, okay, thank you for addressing that. Charlie, do you have a question for Stephen?
Well, actually, yeah, I was going to ask Stephen, in, with beyond the grants that you're offering this year and such, what other programs do you have to kind of help and support and help disabled artists, progress in their craft?
We actually have, I lightly glossed over them, but I'll go a little more in depth because there's
Yeah,
a lot.
please.
Able Artists Foundation started out as a discount service.
Okay.
For example, people on SSI, SSDI may not have a lot of income coming in.
Sure.
And that's something I noticed with the cost of software, because as a film composer, I've put in tens and tens of thousands of dollars into not just my gear, but in the actual software that I use. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. How are people on SSI, SSDI going to be able to afford so they can compete just at a basic level?
Right.
And so I saw that problem and I said, well, I wondered what I can do about it. So I thought about it and I started the nonprofit as a way to, and so that's what I did was I built a network and a bunch of relationships. What I do, half my job is networking, whether it's the Hollywood industry, whether it's advocacy, whether it's nonprofit work, whether it's business to business stuff. It's all networking and building relationships, I should say.
Yep.
And so what I did is I took a chance. I was nervous, but I started calling up companies all over the world and asked them, hey, I've started a nonprofit for people with disabilities. Would you be willing to provide all of your products at half the price?
Okay.
And I said, not just the stuff you're trying to get rid of, I mean all of it. The new stuff, the old stuff, the bundles, there is nothing you can leave out.
Sure.
And I took a chance. And they said, some said, well, we'd have to think about it. And some said, oh yeah, heck yes, sign us up. And so we have relationships with 2.5 dozen companies around the world to provide every single product that they sell at half off, half. And so we can stretch people's dollars more. And the only way, or the only thing people need to do to qualify for this, if you're a musician and you receive SSI or SSDI or any type of federal benefit for DLA, PIP, if you're in the UK, Canadian, all you have to do is submit your letter, submit your award letter to us. We verify it, prove you have a disability and that you're on SSI, and you can get all these discounts for your progression. And so that's how it started, as a discount service. But then I realized, well, gosh, that isn't enough. What else can we do? So we started the contest. And it's not just a music contest where people send in your music and then you get a free piece of software, you get a free instrument at the end of it. And then we take your picture and use you for whatever promo is for the next 10 years. No.
Right.
Our music contest is very different. Yes, we're a nonprofit. And so we are going to, and this is a word that people need to get used to, is actually a positive thing in the music industry, exploit. Well, just like we want to exploit our music to make money, we want to exploit the people we support. So people can see, oh yeah, Able Artists Foundation is doing some great stuff, or we hope. And so the next thing we did was start a contest where, yes, you'll win. Like this year, we are running a contest until July 11th. And if you win, you get about $5,000-$6,000 worth of musical software.
Nice.
And we introduce you to a partnership. We have a new partnership, or actually started last year, with Hit List Music. And Hit List Music is a music licensing company here in the Twin Cities. And they specifically find music for film, for TV, for advertising. This is Google, Apple, everybody. And so what makes our music contest different than any other music contest on the planet is that you send us your stuff. If you win, that's great. But even if you don't, we're still going to send your stuff to hit lists and make introductions for possible onboarding into a licensing company, so
nice.
that you can have your music potentially licensed to get it into film, get it into TV, get it into advertising, get it into sports, so that 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 10 years, 20 years later, you still got what they call mailbox money coming in. And it may not be much. I mean, maybe you just get one 2-minute song in a regional commercial for a tire shop. Well, still, that's broadcast, and that might be a few bucks that can come in that you didn't have otherwise. And so that is the other part that we have. So the discounts, the contest, and the grants. And we have a fourth program we are developing that we hope to launch later this year, which is in connection to additional music licensing opportunities for people with disabilities around the world.
Okay.
So lots going on here in Able Arts Foundation.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Along with, and
here
I
it
see
is.
the licensing and used for advertising of film, television. Does this also those support as like performing artists, those who will go on stage, perform for an audience? How does that work out? Does they have the same opportunities then?
If they write original music, yes, they do.
Okay, great.
So, because what we do, now bear in mind, the lens I see the way to support people with disabilities is from a film composer / post-production perspective.
Sure.
People who work in studios, people who perform, yes, but they're also recording in studios, recording their own music. And so although we do not touch on the many amazing things that Joanna and Minnesota MMC does for especially performers out there doing live performance, our bent does lean towards the studio musician.
Okay.
And thus that's why it's so great to work with MMC, because they do some things really great. We do some things really great. We unite and we support musicians all around Minnesota.
Excellent. And so you're also helping budding composers get their music out into the atmosphere as well then.
Absolutely. And one thing I do want to note, the discount program is the only program where SSI, SSDI paperwork is required.
Okay.
The contests, the grants, and the other opportunities, you don't have to be on it.
Okay.
If you have a disability and you can prove it, like, hey, check out my doctor's note, or hey, check out, yeah, I got this award letter from something, but I'm not on it. But yeah, I have such and such, spinal muscular atrophy or something. As long as we can prove it, you can do the contest, the grants, or the other licensing stuff.
Well, that's great. I mean, and that's a great opportunity for them. And Trish, do you have anything here before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Stephen too. Said you're doing some film composing. So and that film is getting an award. Is there anybody else on your team that has a disability? I mean, it would just be nice to know.
For the film stuff or the nonprofit stuff, just to be specific.
For the film.
The film that you're putting on Hollywood.
Yeah, well, that's just it. The other reason that we're doing what we're doing is there are very few people getting hired who have a disability. And thus some of the advocacy work is well, I'll be very brief, but since I do work in the film industry, I am one of a handful of people who are outwardly verbal that they have a disability. Most people don't like to talk about it in Hollywood, and especially in the composing world, you can't find them. They've been told not to talk about it. It's a shameful thing. Whereas there's a little more progress on the production side about people opening up about their disability, but it's got a long way to go in post-production. And so I have partnered with an organization. I'm a founding member of an organization out in Hollywood called 1 in 4 Coalition, where we speak with the studios, where we speak with the guilds, and we say, here are, we would like you to hire more people with disabilities. There's plenty of talented people out there. here's the ways that you can go about it respectfully, and here are the resources for you to actually do it. And so thus, for example, this year we were actually, I shouldn't say that. But we've been making some progress. But to speak to your specific question, there are far fewer people with disabilities working in the industry, but Able Artists Foundation, along with Minnesota Music Coalition, as well as the new One in Four Coalition out in LA, is aiming to change that in the years to come.
Sounds great. So I think we're about ready to wrap it up. We've had a great conversation here with Stephen Letnes and Joanna Schneider. I want to thank both of them. Joanna, if you have any parting words for us, we're glad to hear them.
Certainly. Well, I wanted to say first, thank you so much for having me and letting me share about our organization. And I was really excited that we were able to also get the Able Artists Foundation involved, because I'm really excited about the work that Stephen is doing. And I would also share that for artists and musicians out there, keep watching the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council and other Minnesota Regional Arts Councils for resources and programs that I think they are developing or excited about. I think there's going to be more to come there regarding accessibility for musicians with disabilities and artists with disabilities.
Excellent. Excellent. And Stephen, lastly for you, you have the contest. Is there a website that people can go to find out more about this?
For some reason, I would get notifications that pop up, and being blind, I have to figure out where the heck they are. Anyway, the challenge is, yes, if for those interested in learning more, please visit ableartist.org. That is singular artist, ableartist.org. To check us out, reach out, email me, info@ableartist.org. My team can give me the email and tell you a little bit more about what we do, but we'd love to.
Excellent. Excellent.
And thank you for having us.
And thank you for being here. And I close it out. I want to thank my co-host, Tricia Carlberg, and our guest today, Joanna Schneider and Stephen Letnes. It was great talking to you, and we'll see you next time on Disability Landscape. Thank you.